Yeah. That's a backcountry treat right there.
Piece of bread and I'd be just.
Oh, yeah.
Just because we're out here doesn't mean we can't be civilized.
We gotta go back and show everybody how to make sausage. Let's assemble our grinder. I like to keep the parts in the fridge. That way everything's cold when you go to use it. If all the pieces are cold, you're gonna not warm the meat up as you're putting it through, the grinder. So keep these things in your fridge. It definitely helps the process when you're making sausage. Okay, once you're done grinding all of your meat, you want to put your bowl and your meat, including your whip, into the fridge. Leave it in there for about an hour. After an hour, we'll whip it all up together. So let's get all of our spices mixed together while we're recooling our mixing bowl and our meat and the paddle. We're gonna put it all together in cold water. So this is ice cold water, 1 cup. And we're gonna add some salt to that, some pepper, garlic powder, red chili flakes, and some mustard seeds, and then some InstaCure salt. So curing salt's gonna help cure the meat when we rest it overnight. It's gonna help the longevity shelf life of our sausage when we're out hiking in the backcountry. And so we're just gonna mix it all up. The reason we're mixing it in water so that we can get it mixed throughout the entire sausage meat. We don't want to just put it in dry and hope that it gets mixed up when we're mixing it. By putting it in the water, it helps distribute all those flavors. We're just gonna add our mix right into our ground meat. And we'll pull it out of the fridge here in a couple minutes and we'll mix it all up. Okay, so lastly, we're gonna add these cheese curds to our mix. And we're gonna mix up our meat. Now we wanna let it mix for quite some time and really get all those seasonings throughout the meat. You don't want pockets of red chili flakes or pockets of garlic. You want it mixed all the way through so that every sausage is the same flavor. Consistency is key in my kitchen. Okay, we'll just get our meat out of this mixing bowl and into the fridge for tomorrow. It's still nice and cold because we kept everything in the fridge. We kept all of our equipment ice cold. That's the most important part. Let's get a nice piece of saran wrap in there. Get that pushed down so you don't let the air get to it overnight. Throw a lid on it, put it in the fridge. So we're gonna put together our sausage piper here. Important thing to do is make sure you spray the inside of this guy out. That way the meat doesn't get stuck in it as you're trying to push it out. Same with the inside of the tube. Wet cloth again is gonna help hold this while we feed the sausage casing on top of this here. First, we're gonna fill it with meat though. This hopper holds about 5 pounds of meat. You don't want to push it in there too hard, otherwise it'll be hard to pipe it out. I'll show you tricks on how to make sure it comes out evenly as we go though. So, in order to pipe this out nice, actually feed this out a little bit. Then as you can see here, we've got a little bit of meat coming out the tube. That's going to protect the casing from getting ripped coming over this tube here. So we'll just slide our casing on top of it.
Oh, and you can tell, well, I hope I'm not wrong, but this is real casing.
Now this is natural casing. It's pork. We just slide it over top until we fill it all the way up. I'm gonna fill this as much as I can so I don't have to change it out very often. As you can tell, the casing sliding nicely over the meat that's poked out the top. It's not getting cut, poking holes in that at all. This casing comes packed in salt, but you want to make sure you rinse it under cold water for quite some time to get all the salt off the casing. Okay, so we're close here.
You can tell just biting into this that this is real casing.
Let's grab our knife, cut an end off. This end we're gonna tie a little knot, just an overhand knot. No fancy knots needed. And we're pretty much good to go. We're almost ready to start piping. We're gonna use our wet rag again, just to place the piping machine right onto it so it doesn't move around, just like the cutting board yesterday. And spray our counter down. And then we'll grab reinforcements. Okay, Matt's gonna push the sausage meat down and I'm gonna guide it out. The reason we don't use a mechanical machine to do this is so that if he's going too fast, I can tell him to stop, pull back, and we'll avoid getting air in our sausages. Now, as you can tell, we're starting to fill up with some air here. So I'm going to tell Matt to stop. We're just going to poke just a little hole in it to let the air out. And we'll get going again. You just want to make sure that you don't force the meat through that hole. And we're good. As you get near the end, it gets tougher. We get to the bottom here, and that's it. So we'll tie this piece off and we'll fill the hopper again. The last thing we're going to do is spray this down a bit before we put it in the fridge, and that's going to help the smoke stick to it tomorrow when we throw them in the smoker. And we'll throw these in the fridge, call it a day. Let's get our Smokies into our smoker and do them half an hour. We're going to pull them out, rotate the racks so that the heat gets distributed evenly, and also flip the Smokies over. That way they're not just cooking on the bottom up, they'll cook both sides. We're going to add wood chips every time we flip and rotate our Smokies. So now that we've got our Smokies out of the smoker and cooled down a bit, we're going to portion them out. So I like to wrap a piece of tape around my cutting board and then measure it out with a ruler and just put a marking on the piece of tape. I do it every 5.5 inches. So 5.5 and 11, and then we'll do 5.5 again. Remind myself that that area is not going to be a sausage. Cool. Then we'll just cut them out and stack them up. Ever since I put these Smokies on the menu, I have to make about a 20-pound recipe every 2 weeks, maybe. Yeah, one to 2 weeks. When summer comes, I'll be making this size of recipe every week. So I might even just double the recipe up. Yeah, the reason I started making these Smokies actually was like all of you, I was watching Marty's videos and getting inspiration to go out hiking and going solo on my own. And I noticed that Marty really enjoyed his Smokies quite a bit. So when I finally reached out to Marty this summer when he had Eric Coleman in town, and I asked if they wanted to come in for dinner, and they did. So they came in. I made Eric a nice Albertan meal, and got to meet them and chatted them up. Well, the day before they went on their epic hike, and when we were chatting, they actually invited me out on a quick overnight trip the next weekend when they got back. So while he was gone, I got all excited and motivated and decided that I was going to create a smoky dish, or a smoky, in just for Marty, just for that trip. So I did some research, some playing around in the kitchen, tried out a couple different recipes, settled on this one, and then when they got back, we went camping, and I told them I would cook, and I made these Smokies for that trip. So ever since then, I've got it now on my menu here at Market, and I call it Up North Gnocchi in honor of my new buddy Marty up north. I hope you guys liked the look into the kitchen and learning about making Smokies. Think about hitting that subscribe button if you're interested in seeing more. Yeah, the next time you see these Smokies, we'll be on the trail with me and Marty. Okay, we brought the Smokies camping, and we have some leftover demi-glaze from last night's dinner. So I'm gonna heat them up in the pot, the demi-glaze, and then I'll cut up the Smokies and fry them up. We'll have them for breakfast. Yeah, we'll slice these. Don't forget your mulled and salt. Perfect. I'll just let that heat up and pick away at it for breakfast. Marty up north sausages. It's a bit of a process to get these done, but you've seen it all to fruition. We got Marty up north out in the bush. We're at Point Campground, eating Smokies for breakfast before we hit the trail.
Put it back on me for a second.
So this is, I was telling Evan last night. So me and Evan, I'm so thankful that he texted me when he did in August. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. People pass up opportunities in their life. They do it all the time. They don't know when an opportunity faces you. It's very easy to say no. Evan texted me, said, come on down to the restaurant. You get that glimpse that goes through your head, said, too complicated. No, I went to the restaurant. We hit it off. We connected. And now, you know, it's 6 months later, and we have been, he's now been on more trips with me than I think even my wife Karen. So we were counting last night, and we both have 12 or 13, but I think combined together we've been on 7 trips. So Evan, man, I'm so glad I came to your restaurant, and you are an awesome guy to hike with. Like, this is phenomenal.
Thanks, Marty.
Oh,
The demi-glaze was a nice idea, Marty.
we could butcher a hind quarter, and then we could grind it up and do a sausage.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you know how to make sausage.
Clearly. Thanks for watching.
We're vlogging!